Here are some tips for making the most out of the beginner's method. This first tip involves making the white cross, and instead of making the daisy with the yellow center, you can practice making the cross directly on the white center. Now this presents a little bit of a trouble because you have to put the white and colored edge piece in its correct spot. So putting it in, you have to make sure green is next to it like this, because red, green, it would have to go red, green. This couldn't be any other color but green, so you'd have to put green up next to it. Even some of the same techniques from making the daisy will work on this, so that when you are putting in maybe the last white edge piece, you can just move the crossover, insert the white petal, I guess, and then realign the cross. And it's just like making the daisy. You're just skipping the step of making the daisy and making the white cross direct. Okay, so the most important thing I'm going to teach you is learning alternate sequences, and that is basically just like up, left, down, right, only do some modifications on it. So one modification you can do is learning the reverse of that sequence. So up, left, down, right goes like this: up, left, down, right. The reverse of this would look like this: right, up, left, down. Sorry, I said that wrong. It would look like left, up, right, down. And as you can see, it is the exact reverse of that sequence. So doing the sequence, it will put it right back to the solved state: up, left, down, and right. And be sure you learn the mirror side of this sequence, which looks like this: right, up, left, down. And you can just practice this over and over again: right, up, left, down, right, up, left, down, and so on. Now another very important alternate sequence is the one that goes like this: up, right, down, left. And it's basically the same as up, left, down, right. As you can see, it's 4 moves, and you go right side move, up layer move, right, up, and the only difference is you're moving the top layer this way instead of this way first and back again. So this comes in very handy when you're in the middle of solving the first 2 layers and you're trying to pair these 2 up, and this white tile is facing you instead of facing out, and it'll solve these 2 with only 2 moves, and you don't even have to move this top edge over. It will just go like this, and it will pair them up. And be sure you memorize the mirror side, and that it looks like this: up, left, down, right. And you can just practice that over and over again. I'm going to tell you a funny fact, and that is you can do this 6 times in a row, and it will return to a perfectly solved cube. That's 2 times, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that will happen with all the different sequences. Up, left, down, right will do the same thing. And that is 6, and it returns to the solved state. So if you have a solved cube, practice this on a solved cube. You can do it 6 times in a row, and it won't mess up the cube, and you'll gain practice that way. Now, reversing the sequences doesn't stop with F2L. You can move on to the last layer, and here's a trick for getting the cross. With the bar shape, you would proceed as normal: face move, up, left, down, right, and then reverse the face move, and there you have the cross. Well, how about the L shape? Usually you would do the face move, up, left, down, right, and you would get the bar shape, and then you would do it again. Well, if you reverse the up, left, down, right sequence in the middle, face move, do the reverse of up, left, down, right, which looks like this, and then face move back, and you'll get the cross directly from the L shape. Here's another example of reversing a sequence, and that is when you're cycling these 3 edges around to get them to match up with their centers. You'll notice that sometimes you have to do it once, sometimes you have to do it twice. And okay, let's just look at this color, and they are opposite colors. If you do the sequence once, it won't solve it. You have to do it again. And you can see now that these are on opposite. Going back with these as opposite, then do the reverse of that sequence, and you'll be able to skip one sequence, and that will speed you up a little bit. So it goes like this, up twice, down, and then this way, up, to the right, and then back down. And it will eliminate one sequence. Same goes for cycling these three corners in the attempt to get all of these corners to be in their correct locations. I'm going to tell you a tip. The sequence that you've learned, you only have to do it once when this corner to the left has two opposite colors and neither color matches. So it'd be yellow and the two opposite colors that there would not be any orange or green on this corner. I'm just going to give you an example. Do the sequence. And that's the spot it would be in if you only have to do it once. But sometimes you do have to do it twice, and what it's basically doing is cycling these three corners, and sometimes it'll have to cycle it once and then twice in order to get them all to their correct locations. And in this case, one of these is the same as this color, and for some reason the sequence just doesn't. You have to do it twice in order to get these corners into their correct locations. So what you can do is put this on this side and do the mirror of this sequence, which looks like this. Like that. And now all the corners are cycled basically the opposite way. Reversing the sequence even applies to the very last step, which is basically these last corners. And so here's a tip I've learned is when the yellow piece, which needs to go down, is facing away from you, then you do the sequence once, your regular sequence, up, left, down, right, the 2 times that you need to do it. And then when you rotate the bottom layer, if it's facing towards you, you do the reverse of the sequence twice, and that'll prevent you from having to do the regular up, left, down, right sequence 4 times. Let's see what the reverse sequence looks like. Up, right, up, left, down, up, left, down. And that basically just speeds everything up. I'm going to warn you, do not try to do a different sequence to solve this. Make sure you just stick with whatever sequence and the reverse of that sequence, else it will mess the whole cube up. Okay, that's it for modified and reversed algorithms. Here's another tip, and that is learn cube notation. And what that looks like is a letter represents each side. So this would be the R for right side, L for left side, U for up side, D for down side, F for front face, and B for back face. And a letter by itself means clockwise, and a little apostrophe after it means counterclockwise, which is read as prime. So it'd be R or R prime, and that represents 1/4 turn. I'm not going to teach you cube notation because I don't even know it very well, but here are some recommendations on videos that you could watch to learn cube notation. And last but not least is your hardware, and this is not too important until you get down to around 1 minute, and then you'll be fighting your old clunky Rubik's brand cube because you cannot do sequences very fast at all. So here's a recommendation. You can spend a couple dollars and get something like this, where it has nice corner cutting, and it's called the D-Phantix Cyclone, and it's like $10 on Amazon. It's really cheap. I promise I'm not sponsored by this video, else this would be a lot longer.